you're thinking about creativity, you can't really just talk about it in terms of dollars, right? But with technology, it seems like it's always like, oh, this is going to kill the revenue stream. And is that actually what you found to be the case, that the pie gets smaller and smaller over time, or gets bigger and bigger? Like, what's happening?
No, for the movie industry, the pie seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger over time. And, you know, I think they figured out how to make more money today when they have these different revenue streams, like the theatrical release and TV and DVD and, you know, whatever, renting it, showing it to people on airplanes and in hotel rooms, and maybe even selling it on iTunes if they're doing that. That's a much bigger business than just putting it into movie theaters and hoping that people will buy tickets. So all the new technologies really have expanded it, and I think for some reason the studios are still looking at the internet and saying, oh, we're worried about piracy, this is a terrible thing, rather than saying this is yet another new technology that's going to grow the business, you know, if we approach it in a really creative way.
Yeah, so it is just kind of a continual process of adopting, of bringing something in, of rejecting it at first, someone doing it well. I mean, is it just history repeating itself with the new technology?
You know, it's history repeating itself with with ways that the business model changes and ways that the tools change. I mean, you're holding this camera that, you know, is smaller than anything that's ever been used to shoot a movie, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, so the tools of production keep getting better, even though a lot of the older established professionals don't want to use them. I mean, you're not going to find a Hollywood cinematographer shooting on an Exacti, but you might find someone who's in film school or just out of film school using it and trying to find ways to make great movies with it.
Yeah. I mean, do you see this as, is this a revolutionary time in that I can make something with this, I can produce it, I can edit it, I can distribute it, and I can get to a huge audience without a lot of the tools I used to need? I mean, so does that impact the creative process more than other technological shifts?
Well, I really do think that there was a real you know, revolution that really started when YouTube came along, and suddenly it was basically free to distribute content to anyone, anywhere on the planet, and you could get these pretty big audiences on YouTube and on some other video sharing sites. And so I think now the really two key things that internet video has created are, one, this search for what's the business model going to be, right? Is it going to be advertising? Is it going to be rental or paid downloads or product placement or all this stuff that NewTeeVee writes about? And the other path that we're just starting to kind of tiptoe down is, what can you do creatively with it, right? Yeah. It's not all going to be evolution of dance. It's not all going to be, you know, crazy things happening to cats, or, you know, it's not all going to be Lonely Girl 15, but, you know, we're kind of walking down those two paths simultaneously, kind of the business model, how's it going to work, and the, you know, the creative possibilities.
Yeah, and now with this deep knowledge of the past, how would you, I mean, would you rate this as a major change, bigger than other technological shifts on the movie industry?
I think it's a pretty big change. Bigger certainly than TV. You know, bigger than any distribution medium that's come before it. Because
when it matches up against color, you know, maybe that's still bigger.
You know, well, those are different kinds of shifts. Sure. You know, the shift to sound, the shift to color. I'm thinking about it as a distribution change.
Yeah.
It's huge, just because it is essentially free to get content out there, and if you can build an audience for it, you know, you have a path to people, which is just incredible. Before, I mean, you know, Francis Ford Coppola in the book says that cinema is escaping being controlled by the financier, and that's a really good thing. You know, that you don't have to go to someone hat in hand and say, let me make a movie or let me make a TV show. And I think this is a really interesting time that people don't have to be supplicants to the Hollywood studios and the media companies. They can make their own stuff and build audiences for it and figure out new business models. And some people are really energized by that, and a lot of people are really scared by that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the last thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think that this is a serious risk to creating things that are, I guess I look at TV more closely, and the genre of show that is hugely big budget, that is that millions of dollars are spent on it before a public ever sees it, and oftentimes it's really good, or more recently, oftentimes it's really good. I mean, is that going to go extinct?
No, I don't think. I mean, it's always scary to say nothing's going to go extinct, because in the book, you know, I quote all these people who say, oh no, we think that people will continue to make silent movies because, you know, really dramatic movies are always going to be silent, or really serious movies are always going to be in black and white. So I hate to say that things will always exist, but I do feel like, big budget movies and big budget TV shows marketed with really big budgets, those are the kind of things that maybe will continue to be these shared cultural experiences. But I think beneath that level, there's just going to be this incredibly, productive, fertile ecosystem of people creating lots of stuff for niche audiences and some stuff for not so niche audiences on all kinds of different budgets. And really, it feels like it's a really creative and exciting time for that, for that reason. I don't want to see the big budget shows go away because I enjoy a lot of them, but I do want to see lots of new stuff being created. And especially the thing that's great is that talented people who would have spent 20 years in Hollywood, working at a coffee bean and tea leaf shop trying to get something made are going to make something the first year that they want to make something. And then by the 20th year, they're going to be really amazing.
Yeah. Okay, so plug the book really quick.
Well, the book is Inventing the Movies, and I think if you Google it, you'll get to the official site. There's lots of free stuff online and podcasts and video. And, it's a book for both people who are techies and people who are movie fans.
Okay, great.
And people who are readers of NewTeeVee.com.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Liz.